The FBI is raising a nationwide alert after the joint U.S.-Israel strike. Should there be concern about attacks here in the U.S.? Joining us now, Jason Pack, former FBI special agent. Jason, thanks for being with us. The FBI, I know, is on high alert right now and even monitoring suspects or people that they have concerns about. What are the chances that there will be some kind of blowback here in this country from Iranian sleeper cells?
Good morning, John. I think the realistic possibility is that it's possible. So that's why the FBI and the U.S. intelligence community in general has began to do this 24/7 watch. And the good news is, John, is this just didn't start last night. The FBI, the U.S. intelligence community have agents that work these type of investigations throughout the whole year. So when something like this is planned, they'll begin to take a second look at maybe some old cases. They'll look at people who are in the U.S. Who may have ties back to Iran, and they'll make sure to start taking a closer look at these folks.
It isn't just the Iranians. I mean, there are, it's proxy groups, Hezbollah, Hamas, others that have caused trouble in the Middle East. Do they have agents here as well?
Yeah, that's a great point, too. There are FBI counterterrorism agents in each of the FBI's 56 field offices, and they specialize in these types of investigations, whether it's Hamas or Hezbollah or any other type of affiliated kind of groups. They'll have people who have intelligence into those groups. They'll have people who may be here that they've looked at through financial means, through human intelligence, through signals intelligence, all those types of things. But, John, really the person that concerns U.S. intelligence the most isn't somebody sitting in Tehran or in some other foreign country. There are the people that are in this country that may see this as a signal to attack. Have they been waiting on this thing to happen, and were that their orders? And so that's really the question that keeps U.S. intelligence community up at night.
Yeah, this all comes at a time when, because of the, arguing in Washington, the Department of Homeland Security is partially shut down. What concerns do you have about that at this time?
Well, the professionals at the Department of Homeland Security and the other agencies will work through this and worry about getting paid later. Their primary job is to protect the United States and its partners. So I know that the DHS has been providing intelligence briefs to state Homeland Security offices, and they're sharing intelligence between the FBI and the other U.S. Intelligence community. So, is it an issue? Yeah, sure, but they're going to do what they got to do to keep Americans safe and worry about getting paid later.
Yeah. And it's routine at a time when the U.S. military is undertaking strikes like these for the FBI and other agencies to go into high gear.
Absolutely. I was on an intelligence squad myself, and when we had these skirmishes, you would go find people who may have relatives back there or who may have businesses or friends. And, John, what a person could tell you that signals intelligence and pictures can't is what's really going on down there. We see in the era of deep fakes and all these other types of misinformation maybe coming out of state-run media, they'll be able to reach back and talk to people who are actually there, see what's going on, get what they call the ground truth. And that picture will help guide future actions by the U.S. intelligence and military communities.
Jason Pack, thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.